Okay, I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Bellflower City Council to order Monday, June 27th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Aye. Or here, sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem Santinas,
Here.
Councilmember Hamada,
Here.
Councilmember Coops,
Aye. Here.
Mayor Dutton.
Here. All right, can everybody rise for the invocation led by Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santinez and the Pledge of Allegiance by Lynn Gorecki.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of life, the gift of this wonderful community called Bellflower. We thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We thank you for giving us this dedicated staff, the first responders, our military personnel. Please keep them safe as they keep us safe. As we gather today to discuss the business of the city, please guide us, enlighten us, and give us the wisdom to decide what is best for the community as a whole. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Place your right hand over your heart, address the flag, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, City Council announcements, and I'll start. The 4th of July is right around the corner, and enforcement teams will be out in full force once again this year. Individuals caught possessing or discharging illegal fireworks will receive a $2,000 citation. Additionally, enforcement teams also can hold the property owner equally responsible for allowing or not stopping the tenants and guests from discharging the illegal fireworks. With a citation subsequently sent in the mail to report illegal fireworks periodically occurring from the property in the days leading up to 4th of July, contact the Bellflower substation to add that location to the enforcement list for patrols during that 4th of July time. Or you can call 562-925-0124. On the 4th of July, contact the Lakewood Sheriff's Station so that the location can be dispatched to the undercover enforcement team. And that number is a direct line at 562-623-3500. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santinez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Parks and Recreation Department will be hosting the second Friday Night Flicks event this Friday, July 1st, in the Town Center Plaza at 6:30 p.m. The second Summer Street Fest event will be next Thursday, July 7th, in downtown Bellflower, on Bellflower Boulevard between Flower and Main Street at 6:30 p.m. So if you've not been to any of these events, please do so because you're missing a lot. For more information on additional summer special events, visit the city's website at www.bellflower.org or the city's Parks and Recreation Summer 2022 brochure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Victor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Bellflower. School starts earlier this year, and before you know it, students will be back in class. This summer, the Bellflower Volunteer Center is working with community groups, residents, schools, service clubs, churches, and organizations to provide backpacks and school supplies to our most needy children in Bellflower. You can help out by providing a backpack or any school supplies that you may want to donate. Donations will be collected at the Bellflower Volunteer Center, and backpacks will be distributed to students on Wednesday, July 27th and Thursday, July 28th. It would be much appreciated if donations could be received by Friday, July 1st, 2022. If you would like to be a part of the important program, please contact the Volunteer Center located at Sims Park or contact Michelle Navarro at 562-804-1424, extension 2331. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Dan Coops.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bellflower business owners and operators have a special opportunity to participate with 37 Oaks. 37 Oaks is a commerce development company that helps product entrepreneurs scale and diversity through an e-commerce wholesale storefronts and pop-ups. The city has partnered with 37 Oaks to offer a 10-week course certified program that is designed to help support our local product-based merchants. To qualify for this course, your business must be a product-based business located in Bellflower and must have a minimum of 6 months of business operations. We have also a Spanish-speaking Bellflower business owner and residents. The city is working with Emprendedor at S's, so that's Emprendedor at S, to host a free 8-week program that will cover how to start, how to grow, and how to operate a business. This course will be held in person with sessions every Thursday, starting June 30, going through August 18. It'll last from 5 till 7 in the evening. And to register, you can go to www.bellflower.org/programs or simply call the number 714-627-2671. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Raymond Hamada.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see, thank you to everyone who attended the grand opening of the newly located farmers market that occurred on June 20th. The farmers market is now at Town Center Plaza every Monday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., except for certain holidays, and will continue to offer a wide selection of fresh produce, bread, food vendors, and handicraft specialty items. I believe there's over 40 vendors now that are now working the farmers market. So it's a great come back to the town center area, and everybody should look forward to again checking it out. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hamada. All right, item 10, public comments. Mr. Stewart.
This is the time set aside for the public to address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. Anyone wishing to address the city council should come to the podium and be recognized by the mayor and state your name for the record. If you wish to address city council on an agenda item, you may do so by approaching the podium as we review that particular item. You'll be given 3 minutes to address the city council.
Thank you. Anybody wishing to speak, come up under the podium. I see the podium's got a speaker at it right now, so just as one goes away, we can have another one. Hi,
Yeah.
state your name and what's going on.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Hugh McLarnon. I'm a resident of Bellflower, and I tried to get a hold of the City Hall clerk a few weeks back to find out who my representative was in District 5, and I just got an email tonight. I believe that's you, Mr. Mayor?
That is me, yes.
And when can we sit
And
down?
you got it this morning, I think, is what,
Yeah, so
late
you're-
morning, not
so
the
you're aware.
tonight.
Well, I got it this
And then
evening.
you made a call to this afternoon, right?
I did not call this
Oh, you
afternoon.
didn't know, okay, that's what I,
No, I got back from work this evening and I seen
Okay.
the email, so you
Got it.
seem to be well informed.
Okay.
And when can we have that meeting, Mr. Mayor?
can you go and email me and I'll give you a call? I don't have my calendar with me on the dais.
Will do.
Okay.
And going back to my last meeting I was here, this is my second City Hall meeting. All others for 2 years were in Bosnia-Herzegovina as a company commander. And I sat amongst many warring factions, and I never heard one of them make a joke about a drive-by, as Mr. Sanchez did on our last meeting I was here. Nor did I ever hear any of them call a joke about a sting operation, as Mr. Sanchez did when I was here the last time. And then again on what's going on with Mr. Wasif. Apparently he's under investigation by a lot of people. We got some track today from the news agency. Maybe that's who you got a call today. Spoke to Code Enforcement Officer Maria. So there's a number of news agencies. This is gaining traction. Veterans homes, and city ordinances and city manager. So we hope the city will support us. We're good citizens. We just want to do the right thing. We want our homes to be up to code. We didn't know, none of this was disclosed to us, that a builder built a home, sold them, did not obtain permits from the city hall. None of the residents in those homes knew that. So we're really concerned that what will happen after the year's up. Will the city begin fining us? Will the city begin attempt to take our homes from us? These are the concerns that the residents in 9731, 9733, and 9735 Rose Street Ave. So I'd love you to come out and meet with those residents, your district members, and just listen to them. Like I said, we want to be good citizens. We served overseas many years, and we just want to live in peace. And the fireworks coming up July 4th, yeah, right next to me, they go off all the time. PTSD sucks. So I hope you come out, hope you listen to us, and give us the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Andrew Perry. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name's Andrew. I'm the president for the City of Artesia Employee Union and an elected board member and an advisory board member for AFSCME District Council 36. The City of Artesia earlier this month passed a resolution authorizing a retention bonus for those employees who stayed with Artesia through the pandemic. $3,000 for employees hired prior to December 31, 2021, and $1,500 for employees hired afterwards. This was coordinated between the union and the city, who is currently under the leadership of Mr. Mike Egan, who I think was city manager here at one time. Other cities nearby, City of Compton passed $15,000 bonuses for its employees. City of Lawndale passed a $2,000 bonus for its full-time employees and $1,000 for part-time employees. City of Carson also has a similar bonus in the amount of $12,500. The purpose of me bringing up these other cities is simply to show that there are many cities out there that are using ARPA funds for this purpose. In fact, a portion of those funds is earmarked to go towards the workforce. I believe these bonuses go a long way towards expressing gratitude for those employees who have been loyal and stuck it out through the pandemic, which was a time that was trying for all of us. I'll use my own experience. Even though Artesia employees have had a rough go at it during the pandemic, especially last year, receiving these bonuses have really helped to boost morale and boosted our own loyalty to the city. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name's Cheryl Williams, and I'd like to get some information on what's going on with the parking structure there at Main. I went with my fiance and his mom the other day after the rainstorm because I wanted to see the sunset, and I found out it was closed at 2. And it has continuously, I guess, been closed at 2, which breaks my heart because it's my favorite place to go in the city. I go up there and I look around, especially on clear days. I take all my friends up there, people from out of town. And it just, is this going to be an ongoing thing? Or, I mean, because that's my spot. Sorry. That's the first thing. Second thing, is it going to be open on 4th of July evening? We went up there last year and it was the most awesome fireworks show in the world. I shouldn't say that because now everybody will be wanting to go there, but it was fantastic.
Yeah. It would be like a rooftop viewing site. Yeah.
Also,
So what's the deal with it now?
It's just blocking off access to stop the miscreants from being up there at night.
Yeah.
You know, so we block access. I don't remember.
But it was
exactly
2 o'clock, and she said 2 o'clock in the daytime it was blocked.
Yeah, I don't think
yeah, it
that's-
was blocked at 2.
I'd have
and-
to look into the timing. of
Was it
that,
a
but,
weekend? Sunday or something?
that
No?
was the other day when
yeah,
it
mainly
rained.
we're just trying to stop access off the second level to keep people from going to the rooftop and
yeah, and
causing
we,
all sorts of.
yeah, they had
trouble.
it blocked off after like the second
Was it
level.
blocked off for cars only, or what about
was
the
just blocked
stairs?
off.
No, they wouldn't even let us go upstairs.
Stay on
We
the
had
stairs.
said we could.
Okay.
Right.
I shouldn't say this. One other time we went and it was still, it was blocked off and they let us walk up the stairs. This time, no, we had to leave and it was really, and also it breaks my heart with all the skid marks and stuff. Maybe you could put some speed bumps or something to keep the
That's-
idiots.
Hence the reason for blocking it off. We've had all sorts of issues up there. We're getting
Yeah.
a lot of complaints from the neighbors. So we had to take some pretty draconian action. I don't think it's permanent, but for the time being, it's going to keep it blocked off. As far as your request for the July the 4th, it's an interesting idea. I have to think about that. Maybe get some security up there.
Yeah,
Work
last
on
year
that.
there was a lot of people up there and it was very calm and peaceful. Everybody was just
Right.
enjoying. But 2 o'clock's kind of early.
Yeah, let me talk to Joel and see if we can work something out on that, because that does
Okay.
make sense.
Yeah, and like maybe speed bumps to keep them from, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, guys.
Hi, guys.
Wait, why am I struggling? Got my glasses. Hey, guys, forgive me. I'm a little nervous. Not my setting, but here we go. Forgive me.
I
a
got
little
an
something
orange
write
shirt
down.
in
Let's
the
put
closet
that
if you
on.
want to
Let's
put
do
it on.
that. Hello and good evening, Honorable Mayor Dutton, Mayor Mr. Dutton, and respected council members. I am here tonight as the Vice President of ASME Local 3745, who represents our fine public works and public safety departments. Unfortunately, our president could not be here because of a family emergency, so here I am in his place. A month ago, if you guys recall, we were here at a meeting asking for your guys' support in directing the city to meet and confer with us about the funds in the American Relief Plan that were allocated for essential workers, which we are, I believe. Well, they said no, and here we are again. COVID changed everyone's lives that are here tonight in this room, from who you may hear from as well. I don't know who will speak, and around the world. No one was exempt from COVID-19. On March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization made COVID-19 an official pandemic. With that came all sorts of confusion and the fear of the unknown. But as boots on the ground, we did not back down and continued to serve the great residents of the city of Bellflower. It was the first time in my 21-year career with the city that I had to be scanned in order to go to work. That was a little weird. Some days I recall being afraid of being sent home because I felt a little hot in the morning, and it caused anxiety at times. I know, right? Me with anxiety, that's COVID-19. Many residents stayed home because they weren't considered essential or had the luxury of remote work. Not us, though. Trash and bulky items continued and increased even more on the streets and sidewalks of the city, and yes, with no hesitation, we would go and remove them and clean them up with Bellflower pride, not knowing if those things would give us COVID. Dealing with the homeless has really picked up, and believe me, it did not slow down during the heart of the pandemic. Best believe Public Works and Public Safety was there face to face with the homeless and their belongings. Caltrans refused to do their work, and they have a real homeless camps on their properties, but we stepped up and did the work for them as well. We provided all of the regular services for our residents so they could continue with their lives in Bellflower as best as possible during the pandemic. Life may have changed, but our commitment of excellence to the residents never did, and we took even more pride to be there for them in a time of a crisis. Public Works and Public Safety meet all the requirements set out by the American Relief Plan. We ask for your guys' support in asking the city to meet and confer with us over this. I won't go over the other cities that got the funds because he already did. We won't go that way. I thank you for your guys' time. And Mr. Mayor, I do ask this, as you did for the LA County sanitation districts, in voting yes for their 2750 and Juneteenth off, why not us? We are Bellflower. Thank you guys for your time, and have a great night. Thank you, guys.
Anybody else? Public comments? Not seeing any. We'll move on then. The closer. Okay, item 11A, Mr. Stewart.
This is consideration of possible action to conduct a public hearing requested by CBD Hub LLC for cannabis tax exemption and refund of taxes paid. And I believe Mr. Ree has the initial staff report for this.
Yeah, we're going to hear a staff report first. We'll call you up.
Yeah.
I apologize,
Okay,
council
that's
members.
all right.
This is my first time.
That's all right.
Yes, briefly. Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. This public hearing was requested by My CBD Hub, which is a subsidiary of Koi CBD LLC. Their purpose is to present their case for a cannabis tax exemption and refund before the city council. My CBD hub is in the business of selling industrial hemp-derived products, and they argue that they should not be subject to the city's cannabis tax. 2 months ago in April, my CBD hub requested a cannabis tax exemption and refund totaling $39,761.85. And this is for the tax payments made from February 2020 through April 2022. Staff denied this request because, contrary to their argument, the cannabis tax ordinance defines the term cannabis to include industrial hemp-derived products, basically the CBD. So my CBD hub is required to pay the cannabis tax under BMC Chapter 3.37, even though they are not required to obtain a cannabis business permit under BMC Title 14. Tonight we have in attendance Mr. Brad Ridenauer, CEO of My CBD Hub LLC, Ms. Melinda Ridenauer, who is the CFO, and their attorney, Ms. Nicole Phillips. At this time, I'd like to recommend that the City Council open the public hearing and consider the appeal for cannabis tax exemption and refund of tax paid by My CBD Hub LLC. And after receiving testimonial and documentary evidence from My CBD Hub LLC, determine whether to deny, grant, or conditionally grant the appeal, or alternatively discuss and take other action related to this item. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions for staff before we open a public hearing?
I just have one
Yes.
quick question. Mr. Ree, what is the tax rate for under BMC Title 14 versus BMC Chapter 3.37?
Oh, Title 14 is the regulations regarding cannabis business permits,
Okay.
the annual issuance or renewal. Chapter 3.37 is the actual cannabis tax ordinance. So they're being taxed as a dispensary. It started at 5%, it went up to 7.5%, currently it's 8.5%.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Go for it, Councilmember Coops.
Tay, are there any other organizations similar to this one, or is this a exclusive type of operation?
For CBD sales, we have identified another one that is similar but much smaller that came to us as a referral from Mr. Santinas. So it's nothing as big as My CBD Hub.
Okay. But there is a smaller organization that has the same kind of product.
Right.
If we were to make an adjustment as being suggested, would that encompass other operations that currently exist, like the one you just described? Would we have to grant others the same kind of forgiveness?
Right. It would be, if we were to give an exemption for My CBD Hub, I think it may be uniformly applied to all the CBD sellers.
Maybe it's a city attorney question.
He just corrected me, yeah. It looks like it would be.
All right. And any subsequent operators would be granted the same kind of same favor, correct?
You're correct, yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Do you have a question, Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. My question is specifically more to the city attorney. I wasn't, a part of the process here, but I'm trying to understand, and just for points of clarification, the way that we define cannabis, one, can you define it for us on record? And then two, was that definition implemented before it went to vote or after the fact?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, perhaps we could hear from the appellant, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. The appellant really has the burden of proof to demonstrate that they actually have an exemption under the cannabis tax. Although your questions are completely relevant, I don't want to steal the appellant's thunder
Very
with
good.
regard to their appeal.
That's good then. I'll wait, Mr. Mayor.
Ray?
Just a quick one on land use. when it first got approved back in 19, it was listed as a dispensary under the code that was in place.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, members of the council,
Wait
this,
on that too.
this only has to do with the tax provision, which is chapter 3.37 of the municipal code.
Sure.
It has nothing to do with the permitting of dispensaries or anything like that.
Understood,
Okay.
understood. Just, I know that there was a discussion of definition. in that,
Absolutely,
And
and-
that's where,
And
that's
I
what kind of prompted that question. It was, when it first came about, that's how it was approved.
Correct. Actually, when it was first on the ballot, there was no legal cannabis businesses within the city of Bellflower. It was the city council adopted the regulatory provisions after the tax was approved by the voters. But again, let me suggest that we hear from the appellant, and then I'm happy to answer any questions after that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I can't answer, you don't wish me to answer my question? I feel left out. Yeah. Is staff aware that our licensed cannabis facilities do sell CBD?
You talk about the business license?
No, I guess
No,
some of
licensed
the
cannabis.
products that are sold in our licensed dispensaries, they do sell CBD products.
I see.
Yeah.
I haven't gone through the
Yeah.
records, but
Yeah.
I'll think that, yes,
Yeah,
they
they
do
do.
sell
Yeah.
CBD
Yeah.
products, yes,
Okay.
in addition to THC
And
products.
that's like a add-on to Councilmember Coops' question about CDB forgiveness. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. I'll entertain a motion from somebody for opening the public hearing.
Move the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilmember Coops and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santinez. Without objection, that'll be the order. Before we hear any testimony, we have to administer the oath. The city clerk will be doing that. If there's anybody in the audience at this time, we would like to do one oath. If anybody thinks they're going to talk, and even if you think you're going to talk and you don't talk, it don't hurt. So whoever has an inclination of a little chance they're going to talk, I want you to stand and raise your right arm and hand, and the city clerk will be talking to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give in the matter pending before this city council shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
There we go. All right, state your name and let's hear what you got to say.
And good evening, council members. Before I get started, because this is my first evening here with you all, and I very much appreciate this opportunity, may I inquire as to whether there is a time clock on my...
No.
No time clock. I will be
No time clock.
judicious.
Yeah. No
I
time
will
clock
not
on the
be-
public hearing portion of it. That's the public comments. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, good evening, esteemed council members. My name is Nicole Phyllis. I'm a litigator at Davis Wright Tremaine, where much of my practice focuses on mandamus litigation in the cannabis context. I am a member of the Los Angeles County Bar Association Cannabis Section Executive Board of Directors and also the California Cannabis Association, Industry Association Board of Directors. I am here tonight in my professional capacity as an attorney for My CBD Hub and Koi CBD in their appeal of the denial of their refund application on the basis that they, a business who I understand makes no sales from revenue, makes no revenue from products derived from THC-rich cannabis, should be taxed as a THC-rich cannabis dispensary when it only sells products that are derived from industrial hemp. We make this argument based on 3 key points. First, the definition of cannabis within the City of Bellflower's tax section is internally inconsistent with its own municipal code, namely in Section 14, as well as the state-level definition of cannabis, both in the Business and Professions Code and in the Health and Public Safety Code. I'm happy to provide those sections, as well as under federal law, which recognizes industrial hemp as distinct from THC-rich cannabis, where the product has less than 0.3% THC, which is the particular cannabinoid that has psychoactive content, unlike CBD. And that is defined as industrial hemp. I want to be very clear about this because the plant is Cannabis sativa L. But the federal government, particularly in passing the 2018 Farm Bill, defined industrial hemp as the same plant, but containing a lower cannabinoid profile, 0.3%, it's de minimis THC, and said this is decriminalized because the cannabinoid profile that industrial hemp does have was acceptable to the government, right? So in 2018, industrial hemp was decriminalized under the federal Farm Bill and under the Controlled Substances Act. Now, the federal government has recognized that industrial hemp is conceptually distinct from THC-rich cannabis for the purpose of criminalization. The state has also recognized that. I'd like to point you specifically to Health and Safety Code 1108, which defines cannabis. That's California State Health and Safety Code 1108. And that specifically provides that cannabis does not include industrial hemp, as defined in section 11018.5. This is in the California code. Industrial hemp in section 11018.5 is defined as an agricultural product, whether growing or not, that is limited to types of the plant Cannabis sativa L and any part of that plant, including the seeds of the plant and all derivative extracts, the resin extracted from any part of the plant, cannabinoids, isomers, acids, salts, and salts of isomers with delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, which is THC, concentration of no more than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. So that is industrial hemp. The federal government has distinguished industrial hemp from cannabis. The California legislature has repeatedly distinguished industrial hemp from cannabis. That's also echoed in Business and Professions Code 26001E. That's section E that's also referenced in section 14 of this city's municipal code that requires that cannabis operators be licensed by this city. So stepping back, why does this matter? Because the city contends that it defined cannabis so broadly in the original 2017 ballot measure that it included industrial hemp. But industrial hemp appears nowhere in that ballot measure language. And the plain meaning of cannabis under California law, under federal law, and even in this city's own code in section 14 does not include industrial hemp. Specifically, I would direct the council to chapter 14.04050, which cross-references the health and safety, the Business and Professions Code, section 26001E, which specifically excludes industrial hemp. And that's why the city has said, my CBD hub in Coy does not need to be licensed as a cannabis business, but we're going to tax it as a cannabis business. So it's internally inconsistent in the code. And that is material because it defies the canon of statutory construction, that words should be construed in their statutory context. It means that they should be given their ordinary and usual meaning. None of those things happened here. This is not the ordinary and usual meaning under federal law. This is not the ordinary and usual meaning under state law. This isn't even the ordinary and usual meaning under your own code. So you have an internal consistency problem and a contradiction with the plain meaning of cannabis. Now, this is particularly problematic because it pertains to a tax measure. And under the California state constitution, tax measures have to be approved by the people. General taxes have to be approved by a simple majority. Specific taxes have to be approved by 2/3. Although I understand the city has characterized this as a general tax, I disagree. Under California Article 13C, Section 2 of the Constitution, this is a special tax even if it goes to the general fund because it is dedicated to a specific thing, namely the taxing of cannabis entities. So you are seeking, or what I understand the city is purporting to do, is to expand the definition of a dispensary within the meaning of the tax code to include retailers of industrial hemp, when the original meaning of a dispensary did not include retailers of industrial hemp products, and the original definition of cannabis also did not include industrial hemp. Now, obviously that matters because if you're acting without authorization to impose a tax, there are additional problems. And I particularly appreciated, I believe it was both Councilmember Hamada's and Councilmember Sanchez's questions about what was the definition of a dispensary at the time this tax went into effect? Because the definition of a dispensary did not include industrial hemp retailers. In fact, that definition did not happen until, I believe, April 28th, 2022, which means in addition to having a tax that was unauthorized by the voters, the city also has a retroactivity problem. Because until April 28th, 2022, no one was on notice that the definition of a dispensary would now include retailers of industrial hemp products who sold, I believe, in excess 50% of the products were industrial hemp. That's new, again. And I believe it's because the city recognized that the current tax, the ballot measure that provided for this cannabis tax, did not include industrial hemp products, so they had to broaden the definition of a dispensary to reach My CBD Hub and Koi CBD. Now, my client loves this city very much. They are a contributor to this city. They're a small business. They care about this city. They want to do business here. But it needs to be workable and it needs to be fair. They can't sell products the same way that cannabis dispensaries can. They can't sell any THC-rich cannabis. They don't have that license. So it is also fundamentally unfair to tax them as an industrial hemp retailer when they aren't even operating on the same playing field. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all here tonight. I welcome any questions you may have, and I very much appreciate your careful consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hillis.
Hey everybody,
Hi.
my name's Brad Ridenauer, and I'm one of the owners of the My CBD Hub. And before I go into what I was going to say, there was a couple questions you guys were talking about before, and you guys are saying that you're able to sell hemp in the dispensaries, and it is two different products. It's the cannabis-derived CBD you can sell in the dispensaries, but you're not allowed to sell industrial hemp in the dispensaries per the California regulations.
But they call it but they're both the same name?
It's it's just where it's derived from. You derive the CBD from industrial hemp plant, it's considered industrial hemp. If you derive it from cannabis, then it's two different. You can tell based on the certificate of analysis.
Is industrial hemp cannabis?
It's a distant cousin. It's a cousin. It's a plant that has under 0.3%.
I guess I asked a question that you're not supposed to answer.
What was that?
I think I asked a question you weren't supposed to answer. The
we've been in this
up.
business since 2015, and we sell our products. We can sell industrial hemp-derived products across the nation on our website to any state in the country. You can't do that with cannabis-derived products. And we have all the credit card processing, all the ISO 9000, GMP certifications. So, also you asked, I think Mr. Coops or somebody asked if we were the only entity that this tax would affect. And in a sense, I think we are the only ones this affects because we're the only one in the city that sells over 50% of our products of CBD.
Okay.
Right? So you might think like, oh, if they do this for us, we have to go retroactive on all these dispensaries. No, it's not the case. We're the only one that's affected by this law, really. And then I just wanted to go back and give you guys just a brief history on when we started My CBD Hub. Originally I went to the city, to the planning department, wanted to get a business license. And they denied it, flat out. I asked to open up the first CBD store. And so I went and I got a different attorney, but they educated the planning department on what industrial hemp was and how it wasn't cannabis. After a brief, probably going back and forth on emails and a call with our attorney, they said, you know what, Brad, come in, get a regular business license, you know, and open up your store. So we did, and we were in operation for about a year. And then I think Jeff called us in and told us, you know, you guys are falling under the tax of the cannabis tax now. You're going in the fold of the guys that make real money, and we're just trying to stay afloat, you know. And basically, it's not for the money per se. Like, Koi is a big business across the U.S., but my CBD hub was just opened up because we're from Bellflower. We wanted to sell our products to our friends and family, and just representing our own city, you know, our little flagship store in our own city for everybody we know to go in person and buy the products that are helping their knees, their elbows, their anxiety, and yeah, so it was literally just a regular business license, and then I have no problem contributing tax to the city, you know, but I feel like the way we're getting taxed right now is kind of unfair. We're the only ones affected by it. And, I mean, through the pandemic, we had to have it shut down most of the time. So, I mean, we kept it open because we like to have Bellflower Boulevard, you know, looking good. We spent over $15,000 just on a nice sign because I hate when people put up a bad looking sign on their store, you know, so. Yeah. Other than that, we're from here. We ain't going nowhere, but we just wanted to make things right and bring to air all the unfairness here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Brad,
coming back up here.
You have a store in Los Alamitos?
Yeah, we have a store in Los Alamitos and one on Main Street in Seal Beach.
So tell us about the taxes over there. How's that compare to Bellflower?
They're easy to work with. They don't tax us 10%.
Is there any tax at all that's above the regular
None.
sales tax?
Uh-uh.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
All right, cool.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Yeah, public, yeah. Okay. State your name and go on.
Yes, sir. My name is Damian Martin, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, City Staff, and the public. My name is Damian Martin. I'm the attorney for Catalyst Bellflower. I'm here to advocate tonight that the tax in question be applied uniformly to all business that sell cannabis-derived products. Now, when I say cannabis, I'm referring to the cannabis that the appellant's attorney is referring to, as she stated that industrial hemp and air quotes cannabis are scientifically the same plant. For whatever reason, we debate the policy. The federal government and the state of California has drawn this distinction between industrial hemp and air quotes cannabis based on the content of the THC in the starting plant. If it's less than 0.03% THC, for whatever reason, it's considered industrial hemp. And then that classification of the plant extends through its life cycle. So a product produced from industrial hemp is still under industrial hemp under federal law and state law, and a product produced from air quotes cannabis remains cannabis. The end result product could be exactly the same. Mr. Mayor, as you identified, our store sells CBD products. They say on it CBD. It also sells Delta 8 THC, which is a seemingly very popular product in their store. Now, thankfully, your city attorney is, I think, very intelligent, and he didn't draw that distinction between industrial hemp and air quotes cannabis in your tax code. It's all just cannabis sativa L, as she referred to. And that makes sense because the products that are sold in the My CBD Hub compete with the products sold in Catalyst Bellflower, which you are taxing at 8.5% now at this juncture. All we're asking is that the tax be applied essentially uniformly. To a point, we could come back here and ask for an exception for all the Delta 8 and all the CBD that's sold in Catalyst Bellflower. We're obviously not going to do that. We know that's not politically sustainable or good for the city. So just to prove that these are competing products, I'd like to provide a visual demonstration Is it okay if the city council looks at this bag of product, just so you understand what it is? Half the product I went and bought at my CBD Hub's Los Alamitos location. Unfortunately, their Bellflower location is closed today. The other half of the product is I bought from Cannabis Bellflower, or Catalyst Bellflower. If you look at this bag and you could tell superficially which product came from which store, you're either a very good cannabis attorney or a cannabis connoisseur. If you can't, you just happen to be like every regular consumer. And the reason being is they say that these products are CBD only, industrial hemp only. Numerous products in their store are advertised as containing THC. They say THC right on the label multiple times. So this idea that like their product can be distinguished easily from our product because whatever labeling is not accurate. They say THC on the label. I have tons of product in this bag. Your best guess on which one came from which store, but it says THC, and I can promise you there's product in this bag that says THC on the label that came from their store. Thank you very much.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Okay, not seeing anybody.
You can have a
Can I
rebuttal.
make one more point, Mr. Mayor? There's no cannabis
Yes.
tax in Los Alamitos. That's the difference between Bellflower and Los
Okay.
Alamitos. Bellflower has
Can you say that in the mic, because
Yeah,
it has to be on the recording?
Los Alamitos does not have legal cannabis. There's no legal, air quotes, cannabis dispensaries in Los Alamitos. Therefore, they don't have a tax. Whereas you guys do have, air quotes, cannabis businesses that you've licensed and really want to create sustainable because we're paying a bunch of tax in the city.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay. Ms. Phyllis, would you like to?
Rebut.
You get a chance to rebut or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
Your Honor, I am unaware of any other municipality within the state of California that includes industrial hemp within a cannabis tax definition. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have second thoughts and want to come and speak? If not, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Move close public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Coops and a second by Sanchez. Without objection, that'll be the order. What's your pleasure, guys?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, may I just make some points?
Oh, that's right, you had some.
Perhaps some of your questions will be answered with some of these observations. I believe the appellant's main thrust is the objection with regard to definitions. And I think to some extent, perhaps, the appellant misunderstands the difference between the taxing section of the municipal code and the regulatory section of the municipal code. The taxing section of the municipal code, and as a supplemental matter, I believe you have the actual ballot language that was put onto the ballot that more than 73% of voters approved in March 2017. If you read that ballot language, you'll see there is no definition of cannabis on that ballot measure, none. And the reason for that is because the way that the ordinance was adopted by the city council with regard to the tax itself, it was done in December 2016. And only Article 2 of that ordinance was placed upon the ballot for voter approval. The idea behind that was the city council wanted to gauge the support that the members of the community would have with regard to regulating cannabis, and the easiest way to do that was to have the community approve a cannabis tax. The ordinance itself that was adopted in 2016 by the city council under its own authority, which was further delegated by voters pursuant to the ballot measure, had a very broad definition of cannabis, and it continues to have that broad definition of cannabis. It's much broader than the regulatory section in Title 14, which has nothing to do with this appeal. The only issue in this particular instance is the definition of cannabis under the taxing provisions of Chapter 3.37 of the Municipal Code. Title 14, which was mentioned in the written materials from the appellant and again by the speaker in her presentation to the city council, has absolutely nothing to do with the applicability of the tax. If you recall, in 2016 and even after March 2017, the city had a tax on cannabis but had not legalized cannabis within the city. Cannabis wasn't legalized from a permitting standpoint until later that year. In fact, that didn't happen until August 2017. And originally, as you recall, that only had to do with medical cannabis, and the city council didn't approve any further cannabis in terms of recreation and actual dispensaries until later in 2018. So this was a progression, and that was always the city council's intent, first to gauge the community support for the notion, and then to actually regulate it. So the only definition that's in front of the city council for consideration is that which is in 3.37. And to Councilmember Sanchez's question, that definition is extremely broad. What you heard tonight from the speaker was references to the federal regulations in terms of how it defines cannabis and how state regulations define cannabis. And those definitions may make a difference between THC type of base cannabis and industrial hemp. Well, the original reason for that was, as she mentioned, to decriminalize some types of products that were derived from cannabis plants. That's not what we're talking about tonight. What we're talking about tonight is a tax scheme. And as you know, as long as the voters approve a tax, and in this case, it was approved way beyond the 2/3 needed for a special tax, even if this were a special tax, which it's not, that would require 66% of the vote. You got 73.8% of the vote. So even if it were a special tax, it would still be valid, and the definition remains valid. Now, as a policy matter, if the city council wished to redo the definition, it can. You have the authority to do that. That would require a code amendment, but that has nothing to do with what went onto the ballot, what voters approved, or anything like that. That always remained within the city council's authority. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions to the attorney?
So what you're saying, Carl, is that any of the items that were brought up by the operator's attorney are not valid. We have the right to tax just as we have put forth. We're in total compliance with the rules and laws.
Correct. If anything, actually, the resolution and interpretation of that definition, which was just ratified recently by the city council, you actually narrowed the definition so that you wouldn't include large stores such as CVS or Walmart or anything like that that had, as part of their overall product, CBD oil or what have you available within their stores. And the reasoning behind that was because the gross income from those stores was so vast and the actual inventory of those types of products was so low that from an administrative and taxing standpoint, it didn't make sense for us to require those stores to actually go through and provide the administration with a differentiation between those products. And so as a policy matter, actually, if anything, the definition wasn't broadened, it was narrowed, just to identify those particular facilities that their main business were these types of cannabis products.
And then when we had an applicant who asked to have that tax reduced, we adhered to that, correct?
This is the only applicant that I'm aware of that asked for an exemption.
We had one, wasn't our friends from Elliott, what did he ask for something?
Yeah, it was a reduction in the
Of the distribution tax.
All right, so that didn't involve this at all?
Didn't involve this at all, no.
All right, thank you.
Oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying. The council does have the ability to suspend the automatic increases with regard to the cannabis tax overall, which it did, based upon a request from the applicants and based upon a third-party analysis, but that's not what we're talking about tonight.
What I didn't hear during the testimony, that of all of the scientific and potency levels, I did not hear that hemp was not cannabis that was stated by the government or any of those codes, the public health codes, anything. It did not say any of that. That it was not. And all I know is all from my high school days or whatever. We were all, in the Vietnam stuff. It was hemp, was a cannabis product, or was always derived from cannabis. I'm just going off of my education.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I can provide you with the legal answer, the actual scientific answer about how much THC are in particular plants or not. It's really not relevant to this question because the definition is what's relevant, and it encompasses every possible derivation from a cannabis plant, whether or not it has THC in it or not.
Yeah.
That's a policy decision that the city council implemented in 2016.
Got it. Any other questions to?
I have none.
Well, then I'm going to make a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for the City
Maybe.
Council of Bellflower to deny the appeal from My CDB Hub LLC.
I'll go ahead and second that. Got a motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santinez and second by the mayor. Call roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Santinez,
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada,
Aye.
Councilmember Coops,
No.
Mayor Dutton.
Aye. Okay. Item 11B, Mr. Stewart, and
This is a consideration and possible action to conduct a public hearing to read by title only, waive further reading, and introduce ordinance number 1417, an ordinance amending certain sections of Bellflower Municipal Code, Title 17 zoning pertaining to allowable uses, development standards, and process and procedures in the Town Center District. And Ms. Corpus will make the staff report for you.
And before that, I'm going to recuse myself of this item 11B and turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santinez due to I have a property conflict within that realm.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Right, Mr. Stewart, item 11B.
Oh, is it Beth or Ms. Corpus will make the staff report? Looks like Ms.
Okay.
Burton's going to help her out.
Ms. Corpus?
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem Santinez, Assistant Planner Catherine Brunn will give the presentation, and I'll help assist her with any questions that you guys may have.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Corpus and Mr. Stewart. Good evening, members of the City Council. I have a short presentation for you regarding ordinance number 1417 this evening. Okay, so the Town Center District was established in 1996 with the purpose of promoting traditional specialty retail uses and entertainment activities within Area 1, shown on the screen in light purple on the north here, and Area 2, which is shown in dark purple on the south end of Bellflower Boulevard, as you can see on the map. So in 2020, Recast City LLC was retained for downtown development advisory services. Recast City focused on the potential of small-scale and artisanal manufacturing to fill vacant storefronts, attract new businesses, increase jobs, and spur new development within the town center. Artisan manufacturing involves the use of small hand, mechanical, and electronic tools to manufacture products such as food, leather goods, furniture, jewelry, and clothing. Following a study session with the City Council and community feedback in 2021, Recast City presented their findings and recommendations to the City Council. The land use implementation plan includes allowing artisan manufacturing with a retail frontage use requirement, as well as streamlining the on-site alcohol permitting process, and those are addressed with this proposed amendment. Additionally, Recast City recommended to add housing density to the town center which is being considered with the housing element update. Other land use policy recommendations, such as amending the entertainment license permitting process and the vacant property ordinance, will be addressed separately. The proposed ordinance would amend Chapter 1748, Town Center District, as well as add definitions to Chapter 1708 of the Bellflower Municipal Code. Most notable among the changes are adding new land use definitions, including a definition of artisan manufacturing, removing areas 1 and 2 of the town center, the designations, updating and simplifying the allowable uses table by categorizing and consolidating land uses, permitting artisan manufacturing by right with a retail storefront, allowing restaurants to add on-sale alcohol licenses with a minor conditional use permit, requiring conditional use permits for smoke shops, allowing breweries, distilleries, and wineries with a minor conditional use permit, allowing the director to make use determinations for uses not specifically listed, removing antiquated development standards for game arcades, outdoor newsstands, fuel stations, as well as removing fitness center, martial art, karate, and dance studios from the public assembly section, and no longer requiring conditional use permits for walk-up order windows. The Planning Commission recommended approval to the City Council with one amendment. The proposed amendment was to change the existing requirement that a property with a drive-in or drive-through be cleaned weekly rather than washed weekly. This section is now proposed to be removed in its entirety since it is more appropriate as a condition of approval than a development standard. In addition, non-substantive changes were also made since the Planning Commission's review, such as removing references to other BMC sections and adding a new section titled Clarifying Ambiguities. Staff recommends to open the public hearing, take testimonial and documentary evidence, and after considering the evidence, read by title only, waive further reading, and introduce ordinance number 1417, or alternatively, to discuss and take other action related to this item. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Very good presentation. Can you go back to, well, I guess you can move forward now. There you go. The amendments. Okay. So you mentioned that in the list of, land use definition, so the only major change was the artisanal. Is that?
In terms of the definitions added?
Definition added.
So I will list, there are a few more, so I will list those for
Anything
you.
major that we added?
So,
other than that?
Yeah, some of it was clarification. So additional definitions were for administrative, executive, professional offices. So we now define what that is. We also define automobile dealerships, beauty shops, body piercing, motorsport dealerships, pawn shops, and tattooing. So those are additional definitions that we're proposing to add. And these will apply to all of the Chapter 17 zoning, not just for the town center specifically.
I see. Okay. So between Area 1 and Area 2, the way they were constructed before, is there any significant distinction between what is permitted, conditional permitted, and not allowed between these two areas?
Yeah, so the existing code, we have the two different, Area 1, Area 2. The difference is primarily, and I'll pull the map up again.
Okay.
So again, the dark purple here at the bottom is the Area 2, and this lighter purple is all Area 1. So some of the key differences were more that Area 2, the southern end, is more automobile oriented. So previously, drive-throughs were only conditionally allowed in Area 2, gas stations were only allowed in Area 2, and the office use allowance was actually less in the Area 2 than Area 1. So those are some of the differences. So moving forward, we're just going to eliminate the Area 1, Area 2, and have just a unified town center. So,
which really makes sense because it's one downtown.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then the other question I have is on the Can you go back again to that list? Oh, for the benefit of the public, what is the cost difference between a CUP, generally speaking, a CUP and a minor CUP?
Yeah, so the cost difference is pretty significant. Conditional use permit, I believe, is $3,400 in that range. Plus, there are many other additional fees related to like the public hearing process.
And the publication.
Yes, the publication card, all of that. So it's easily in the $4,000, $5,000 range. Plus, they would have to have plans professionally prepared, et cetera. And of course, the time required to process the conditional use permit is several months at least. So with a minor conditional use permit, the application fee, I think, is around $400. There's no public hearing, so there's no additional cost related to publishing, filing environmental documents with the county, things like that. And the time savings is pretty significant as well, since it's handled administratively rather than at the planning commission.
They can open the business much sooner.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Correct.
All right, any question of Catherine?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Councilmember Coops.
Yes. Sonny may remember this from planning commission days, when tattooing was not allowed in the city of Bellflower. Have we amended that code to allow for that, or is this a new deal? 'Cause we kind of put it under the same category as fortune telling, tarot cards, that all kind of went together, and we didn't want to see that occur.
I can answer part of it. So,
You remember
yeah,
this,
I know it
Sonny?
has gone back and forth many times, I think, related to greater constitutional law. Carl can speak on that if he needs to, but it is currently allowed in our light industrial M1 zoning designation within the city.
Those
and
three activities I mentioned, tattooing, tarot cards, and psychic reading?
Not too familiar with the psychic reading or tarot codes off the top of my, I have not seen that. I've not seen a request for those yet. But
Since
those
it's being discussed here, I thought, well, suddenly it's going to be on the boulevard.
They're definitely separate uses, though. They're definitely not combined anymore. So,
And we probably should hear from the city attorney as to the legal rights of individuals to do these activities.
Right.
I'm sure.
Mr. Mayor, members.
Mr. City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. So I do remember as a very young deputy city attorney happily outlining all those provision types of uses within city jurisdiction. That was a long time ago, and I will say that the case law has developed over time. All of those issues have been addressed by courts since then. All of them have been determined to be First Amendment protected activities. Tattoo for artistry, crystal ball reading and tarot reading, and psychics for religious purposes. So for all those reasons.
Nothing we could do to ever prohibit that.
You can't prohibit them outright. You can engage in what the courts call reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. So you can put them in particular zones, but if they look too much, for example, with tarot reading or fortune telling, if they look too much like other types of activities that are substantially similar from a land use issue, as all of you except Mr. Sanchez sitting on the dais remember from your our LUPA training, you can't distinguish those types of activities from other types of similar activities. So that's what the issue is there.
So if the activities I just mentioned, we're looking to allow them to be placed on the boulevard, correct? Or am I reading this
I believe
incorrectly?
that's one of the recommendations.
That's under the provisions of what we're discussing tonight, that they could be placed. Now, I understand they can go anywhere in the city, but we can determine where they should be, correct?
Correct. Currently, specifically for tattoo parlors, they're currently allowed in the M1 zone by right.
Okay.
The proposed ordinance before you would require a MCUP in the town center. So not necessarily by right, but not a full public hearing in front of a planning, in front of the planning commission. It'd be subject to administrative review.
We had discussions about permanent eye makeup, that was tattoo work, and whether or not a beauty shop could present that. I mean, we were going deep here.
I'm very impressed with your knowledge, Councilmember Coops.
Well, remember we had the guy that wanted to put in the pirate shop, and that was part of his repertoire.
So that's a great point. I'll address that real quick if you don't mind. So that's something why we added the new definition specifically for tattooing as well as beauty shops. So within those definitions, we clarify that permanent makeup application to the face is not the same as a tattoo for these purposes.
Yeah, okay.
For cosmetic, for cosmetic purposes.
For
Cosmetic reasons,
purposes.
it's not the same genre.
Yes, correct. So.
Okay, I got to accept that, I guess. It's ink under your skin. It's just
Right. So when it's performed within a beauty shop or a spa, it's not considered a tattoo. Similar, like the same type of tattoo. Yeah. But yeah.
Have you looked at Mike Tyson's face?
Oh, that's tattoo. That's different.
All right. Well, that helps me understand what we're doing here. But I knew that these terms had come up and we hadn't seen them for a while. But as we redefine what we're going to do on the boulevard, I want to be aware of the discussions we've had previously. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Hamada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I know that it's been a while since Elena Prus, again presented before us. It's probably been a year, hasn't it? And hopefully, if this all goes through, again, please advise her, because I think she'll do some PR for us. I know that, so I'm glad something like that's going to be moving forward. Catherine, second from the bottom, the removed fitness centers, martial arts, et cetera, from the public assembly section. Just looking at the code, just to clarify, those are going to be, again, minor CUPs?
Yes.
Yeah,
So if
so-
the use is in a building of less than 5,000
small,
square
yeah,
feet,
small
correct,
ones,
it'll
yeah.
be a minor conditional use permit.
I just wanted to clarify that. 'cause
Yes,
it
and
just-
this will bring it more in line with outside of the town center. So in our general commercial zone, light industrial zones, they're not considered public assembly. They are just in the other zones conditionally permitted, but they're not considered public assembly. Which the main key difference is the parking requirement. So the parking requirements for public assembly is much higher.
Right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. First off, I'd like to start off by saying, staff, really good job of bringing this to us, and then just very informative. So I'll start off by saying that. And then secondly, I want to jump into the first thing. And actually, just coming into City Hall earlier today, I got a phone call from someone who looking to understand what the CUP process means and what it does, and there for some reason or another, there's a belief that a CUP process is a very difficult process, right? And it varies by city and so forth. With that said, when we say MCUP, that's really more of an administrative process. Is there any way that we could rebrand MCUP to something else? And my city attorney just walked out, so I'll put this question out to a later date then.
You mean call something else?
Yeah. Well, or Jeff, you want to step
I think
in?
Beth is
Or
comfortable
Beth?
talking about that because we did have a discussion. So
Sure, Councilmember Sanchez. We could name it an administrative permit or an administrative CUP. Sorry, administrative permit or administrative use permit. So currently, the way it's written in our code, we have a CUP, which goes to the Planning Commission and is the full-scale public hearing, and we have the minor CUP, which is at a staff level review. So we could we have a separate code section for an MCUP. So we could rename the MCUP to an administrative permit or administrative use permit.
I definitely would suggest something like that to my colleagues. It's just more so for the purposes of
a little softer.
A little softer, right? Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to throw that out there, so I'll throw that out there for now. And then I think something along the lines of that, so maybe staff can suggest the name or change. Or, but then I also was hoping maybe we could talk about a few of these items. Item number 18, item number 12 and 13, childcare centers and school, commercial, vocational, or trades. They're currently a CUP process. Now, on another item, in item number 39, residences, we say second floor and above is permitted by right. what I'd like to suggest is that we add a section to the child care centers and the schools as a MCUP or AP, if we want to call it, in the second story, making it a little bit easier for someone to acquire that permit if it's a second story use, meaning that the bottom use can be available for some other kind of concept, restaurant or another kind of pedestrian friendly business, and the second story now becomes a school center or some kind of a trade vocational. The reason being is the first floor is really most valuable, and so this way maybe we can encourage those types of uses on the second floor. Just food for thought, and I want to throw that out there. Then I want to look at number 18, the hookah bars and cafes. Currently we have that set as a CUP. I do believe that there are some very nicely established hookah lounges, similar to like our cigar lounge in town, that maybe we could attract, and maybe we could do that as a MCUP or AP, if we want to call it AP. So I want to throw that out there. I have many more to go through. So do you guys want me to go all at once, or do you guys want to? Okay,
No, we're all ears.
Item number 19, indoor and outdoor commercial, which includes recreational facilities, arcades, billiards, bowling alleys, escape rooms, laser tag, miniature golf, skating rink, virtual reality rooms, less or equal to 5,000 square feet. Currently, we have that set as a MCUP, and I'd like to recommend to leave it that way, but I'd like to add axe throwing and
Like AXE?
yeah. There's like a.
I didn't know that was a sport.
Yeah, there's axe throwing. It's a sport, and it's an
Okay.
outdoor activity, as well as a kid zone. So like those kid zones where kids can go and jump, and there's either jumpers or trampolines or things of that nature. And then on item 20, I would wait. Hold on, I have to remember something here. Oh, I'm gonna scratch that recommendation. I was gonna recommend making that a MCUP, but I've learned otherwise to leave that as a CUP. Let's see. Item number 34, parking lots and parking structures. I just want clarification. I want to ensure on the record that permitted by right is parking lots that are that are on the front side streets lined perpendicular to Bellflower Boulevard. In other words, they are not on the boulevard, but they are in alignment to the boulevard. Does that make sense?
Side street.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
it's a side street.
Yeah. Mhm.
Perfect. That's correct?
That's
Okay, very
correct.
good. Let's see. And then that's it for me on those recommendations. I spoke to the legal counsel before the meeting, and he educated me on a few things as to why we couldn't make some changes there. So I'll leave it at that. And that's pretty much my suggestions, gentlemen, and I'm open to a conversation.
Okay. Did you get all those suggested changes?
I did. One point of clarification, Councilmember Sanchez, regarding the educational uses, C12 and 13. You said MCUP or AP for second floor and above. Are you saying only second floor and above MCUP? Or are you saying, and scratching out completely the CUP, so nothing on the first floor?
No, I think we can leave it for flexibility. We can leave it as CUP, but
Got it.
the MCUP or the AP, whichever name we go with, it would just encourage them ideally to go on the second floor and allow that first floor to remain as more of a either restaurant or some kind of other foot traffic delivering business.
I got it. Thank
So-
you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
didn't we have
Councilmember
an
Coops.
ordinance that didn't allow for schools on the boulevard? Any schools?
We used to have that, right?
Did that go away somewhere?
They cannot be fronting Bellflower Boulevard.
I believe this would be for its commercial and vocational trade, so it's not necessarily like a public school.
Because we had a lot of controversy when the real estate guy put in that school on the boulevard and took up the parking. You remember that?
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Do we still have that in place?
Yeah, we do, but that wasn't actually developed as a school. The
I know it
question
had
is,
but don't they do training there?
well, yeah, we think so. I
Well,
mean,
I
it's a
think
call center, and we
if
think
that-
there is training going on there. Yeah.
If what you're referring to is, it's not, the address is technically on the Palm Street. That's where the entrance is.
All right, I'm talking the one next to Avalon.
He's talking the one at the
Oh,
old,
I
that went
see,
into the
I
old
see.
beverage depot that went up there. And,
Remember when Brian Lee put in?
The Remax?
Yes.
The
Right,
Remax.
the Remax.
Yeah, that is sometimes presented as a real estate school.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were always concerned about schooling on the boulevard and how it would impact the parking, which obviously we got to be wary of.
I certainly think there is education that goes on, especially in the upstairs section of that building. But the bigger problem as far as the traffic, I think, is more as its use as a call center for agents to come in and do that. So I'm not exactly sure what the mix of business is there going on right now. Beth, we don't have any outstanding code enforcement issues with them, do they?
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
That just came to mind. And I think the property we acquired for the parking structure, that was being presented as a school.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
A while back, yeah.
Right. I believe so. Which, again, Victor, you kind of defined schools. It's not necessarily a preschool for children. It might be a vocational school for adults. Does that sound right?
Councilmember Coops, that's the way I'm understanding it.
Okay.
It's saying it's a school, it's a commercial or vocational or trade. So it is a school. I would assume that it's kind of like that school at the corner over.
But he's looking for that use as an AP or an MCUP on the second floor only, with the CUP fully required for first floor use on that if that goes on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the second floor is definitely where we would
Correct.
prefer them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was looking, where did you find the axe throwing on here? Is that something?
No,
That's
I'm
something
adding
new.
it separately. It's something
So
new.
would you put archery and shooting galleries in that same?
Well,
I'm just-
archery. That's a good idea. Why not?
You kind of scared me though when you say acts with children.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
the way you said it.
Well, it's not a preschool activity.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
Right.
It's allowed to use.
Well, we got to be
acts.
careful what we say
I
because it
know,
might
I
be
know.
construed as a joke.
Right.
So.
Okay.
No, I'm not trying to make it, but I know that if you do axe throwing,
Right.
that might lend itself to archery.
Yeah. Well, I think that'd be a unique, something that
Yeah,
would
why
attract
not?
differently.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
Let's add
suppose
it.
you could have a 5,000 square foot bowling alley and have 3 lanes, but
Yeah. And different types of games and activities. Yeah.
I'm just kind of going over in my mind historically the things that we were not excited about putting on the boulevard. That's I'm trying to parse my words here a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
And Councilmember Coops and Sanchez, if I may.
Yep.
So I did go back to the original section regarding educational institutions, schools, vocational schools.
Yeah.
It was originally, or in the current code, as second floor and above.
So we're cool
Oh,
there.
So if we just keep it second floor and above and not a CUP on the first floor, then we will still be, we'll be consistent with what we have now.
Great.
Okay.
You remember that?
Yeah, we don't need to make
Okay.
a change. Okay.
So we don't need to make the change
We still do, because currently it's listed as a CUP.
on the second floor.
On the second floor.
Currently, it's listed on any floor.
Oh, okay. So we want
So
to.
if you want to
we do want to
clarify
restrict
it for second floor and above only,
Okay.
then we'll need to make that change.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd suggest that.
What do you think, Mr. Hamada?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Beth, when it comes between either a MCUP or MAP or an AP versus full-blown CUP, do you draw the line with a parking and traffic study?
We could, so from an administrative standpoint, we would look at the application, and if it meets the findings, then we're able to approve it. If there is something in there where I thought that it would require greater scrutiny, meaning going in front of the planning commission or the council at a full public hearing, I always have the authority to refer those to the planning commission or the council. So if it were where they didn't meet code, or if it would present significant impacts, then it is within my authority to bump it up a level to either the
Well,
commission.
make
or the
that
council.
clear. It would be her discretion whether or not she would bump it up to the next level if
Right.
she wanted to.
That's
Just because it's a difficult issue.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
Yeah.
With this discussion of the childcare center and the school, if it's on the second floor, are we talking about, again, adding the size requirement? If it's up to 5,000, or do you feel that's Or do you think there will never be a very, very large second floor?
We could add the 5,000 square foot limit, like similar to what
It
we
seems
had.
consistent, I mean, it would be consistent with a number of the
It
other.
would be, and that's also consistent with the current code
Yeah.
as well. So if you want to keep it status quo, then the changes would be to require it on the second, or to only allow for it on the second floor and above through a CUP process, and including, sorry, if it's more than 5,000 square feet, if it's less than 5,000 square feet, second floor and above, it would be an MCUP. Or, yes.
All right.
All right. All right.
You're good with that?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem. As we're looking at it, I'm looking over here at office uses F29 through F32. Currently, we have that designated as P. What if we were to designate the second floor as P and MCUP on the first floor? Just what would staff think about that concept? And is that going too far? Just curious, throwing it out there. Does that make sense? So second floor stays P, so it's permitted by right, and then in the first floor it's a MCUP or AP process.
So it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. That way we promote office spaces on the second floor, and I mean, at the end of the day, they could still do it on the first floor, but ideally this would encourage them to go for second floor for office space uses, and again allow or leave the bottom floor for more retail-based use.
Not unlike the Exchange, the Howard CDM deal,
Exactly.
where he has retail on the first floor,
And the office spaces on the
office
second
space
floor.
second floor, and I guess on the third floor he's got
Yeah,
office
he's got,
space.
exactly.
Right, but I was kind of thinking that the concept for downtown is a combination of restaurants, offices, and things like that.
Right.
So will that kind of inhibit that kind of usage?
Why would it inhibit it?
Well, because of the permitting process.
Oh,
And that way we would permit it as a AP or MCUP
AP,
process, because it's still not as restrictive. It's at staff discretion, and it's still a quick process. But then because the P would be a second floor, you're encouraging them to go second floor ideally, but at the end of the day, they could still go first floor. That's my thought.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about the way I see downtown. It's a combination of different things.
Right.
You know, restaurants, shops, and a few offices.
Hard Times has a second floor in it.
Yeah, and it's just like what you said, Exchange is a second floor.
I'm not sure if anyone would build what it is that we are thinking about, or if we're looking at the existing building that's now on Bellflower Boulevard. I'm analyzing it in terms of what's on the boulevard now. How anybody could convert them. For instance, the bank building that we own.
Right. And there's a few offices also,
Right.
like real estate, insurance, and things like that.
But I'm with you, I want to try to make it as palatable as we can and open the door for them to come rather than close it. But I don't want to get into a situation where our parking is it's more troublesome than it already has, you know?
True, yeah.
I think that's what's driving the discussion. How much parking will these kinds of activities require?
But for example, let's say a typical office will not require a lot of parking. For
Well, and
example, let's
presumably
say-
that's daytime
Right,
hours, and
daytime.
the restaurants are more nighttime, depending on the restaurant. But I do know if the Exchange gets open to the point where he would like to have all the activities going with offices, with the chance to rent office. Well, he has his offices there for CDM, but below that, then you can rent an office, and on the main floor will be the retail with the brewery and the
restaurant and
restaurants.
then the brewery.
I mean, that's going to put a big tax on the parking there.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with being permitted on the first floor.
That's
No,
okay.
I rather have in my perspective, it's a good mix.
Yeah, and I don't want to give the feeling that every activity in Bellflower having to do with business needs a CUP. That's
Right.
not that's not putting out the welcome mat.
And also the other thing is restaurant operators they want to see daytime traffic also.
Well, and presumably it would come from the office building.
Right, exactly.
Councilmember Santinez,
Yes.
if I may also add, we, in the current code and as presented to the council, there is a limit on how much office space is allowed within the town center area, and it's at 25%. So 25% of the total gross floor area is allowed for office uses. Staff keeps an inventory. We do surveys and walk the boulevard to see what spaces are being used for offices. And we keep track of it anytime somebody wants to open up a new office. If it's exceeding that 25%, then it's not allowed.
Okay, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, with that, I will retract that last suggestion.
And
Well, I didn't know that. That's a good.
also, one point of
It's
clarification.
a good control, though. Yeah.
That is for office uses fronting the boulevard. For office uses
On the
along the
side
side street, there is no limitation on that 25%.
And those are side streets up to the 91 freeway, I believe.
Yes, and the second floor is not limited. So perpendicular to Bellflower, second floor and above, offices are not limited. First floor along the Bellflower frontage, 25% of the total gross floor area can be offices.
Okay, good.
And are you keeping track of that currently? Because there's a lot of new offices on the boulevard.
We are.
Okay.
I'm glad that someone is doing that. All right, any more questions for Ms. Corpus or Catherine?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Hamada.
Just a quick one, Beth. Again, you just brought up the 25%, which I recall that now. And so where are we at now? It begged that question.
Okay, so based on our last survey, which was done, I believe, February of 2022, so recently. And I will also add that most of the offices we get are one office closes, a new one opens. So we don't see too many like retail uses that change to office, like a change of occupancy. Most of it is one office closes and another opens in its place. So right now we have two different totals. So we have area 1 and area 2. So we're currently at 21% out of 25 for area 1 and only 13% office area for area 2 of the town center. So close to capacity at area 1, but less than in area 2.
And if you notice, they are putting mannequins in Beaver Mencas and Has as a county office, which meant to be a pizza parlor.
Right.
So we've gained some retail away from office on that main
that's
corner.
that's very true. Yeah.
Right.
So with combining the area 1 and 2, then we're going to be a little bit less than.
That is correct.
Okay.
It looks like currently, if we were to combine them, it would be 19%.
Okay, so we still have more room to grow.
So, yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
All right. Any other question? Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
Open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Coop, seconded by Councilmember Sanchez. Without objection, that will be the order. Anyone who'd like to speak on this item? It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. See? Good evening, Mrs. Berkey.
Hi.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, fun to be up here to talk about this stuff.
No, it is. It's right in your
This is
yard.
what I
know.
geek out. So Chrissy Padilla-Berkey, I'm putting my resident hat on, and just the brief time that I had to look over some of these changes, I'm excited to see the incorporation of the recast cities. I think about the downtowns that I like to spend time in when I go on vacation, and also being a resident that walks the boulevard with my children. Frequently, like, it's encouraging. I also, as we think about this, I know you have to think about the existing buildings that are here, but when's the last time we changed this level of the zoning? It's been a long time, yeah? So it's kind of cool to think about it of like, okay, well, what's the current reality? And if we know that we're getting more density, like thinking about what could be. And I like thinking about the second story. And it sounds like a lot of those a lot of the code was already there. But yeah, I'm just encouraged as a resident. This is the kind of downtown I love living near and walking around in. And it makes me excited compared to, when like early 2000s, it was hard to find a business that was open. And now we're seeing the city really come back to life, and it's, encouraging. So
You know, here's the thing. I lived in Boston, and you'd park a mile away and you're used to it. So I feel like it's good for all of us to walk a little bit more. Parking problems are a good problem in our downtown. And I think when you go to Belmont Shore, you plan on parking and you like walk and see all the cute houses and stuff on the way. And that's just part of the culture. And I think Bellflower really needs to lean into that a little bit. So.
And you can see my concern, although you have the freedom to do what you want as a business person.
Yeah.
I don't want your two kids in a stroller going down the street and having to ask you what's going on in the tattoo parlor. Or,
I mean, I would totally get a tattoo in
Well,
downtown Bellflower.
God bless you.
I mean,
maybe we should get 10 of them. But I don't. How about our fortune telling or any other things that might not find an enhancement to the boulevard? You know?
Yeah, I feel like what I've heard tonight, like that's the way the zoning has been written, like I think you guys have the right controls in place, and I like that you guys are giving staff some jurisdiction to like use their discretion and kick it up to you if it seems like it is going to be complicated. But I don't foresee that really being a big
Well,
issue.
and you got to remember when Jeff came to work with Mr. Stewart, his first thing he said to our council and to our staff, learn how to say yes.
Yeah.
We did too many no's for too many years, and you saw the results of that.
Yeah.
And so the yes idea has now become prevalent.
Yeah.
And so that's what we work with, and I have to really think hard to make it the best we can be with a yes vote.
Yeah, and you have the right controls in place to have a good conversation if it feels complicated. But I think you're seeing the fruit of that with a thriving downtown, and
No, and you're
that's
right
to
in the middle
staff's
of it with
credit, too.
Steelcraft and the big building going on behind you and the retail that's going to go next to it, and it's all going to be really neat.
Yeah, I'm encouraged though. So keep up the good work, and yeah, I'm happy
Well,
to.
it's always nice to have someone come in front of us that says good
I
things.
mean, I love this
You know,
stuff.
we
So
need
if
more
you
of
guys
that.
are pushing,
you
I'm
know?
going to come up and share.
Well,
my thoughts,
come back more often.
Yeah.
Okay, I will.
Please.
Bedtime for the kids. It's
I
a little rough
understand.
sometimes, but thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hamada, seconded by Councilmember Coops to close the public hearing. Without objection, that will be the order. All right. Ms. Corpus, can you enumerate the changes that Councilmember Sanchez requested?
Yes.
So we're on the same page?
No, and I have no problems with the ones he suggested. We just kind of tweaked them a little bit.
Okay, so if you go to your allowable uses table on page 11 of your staff report, educational uses C for both child care centers and schools, parentheses, commercial, vocational, or trade school. This would be changed to if it's less than 5,000 square feet and on the second floor and above, it would be an MCUP or AP.
Okay.
For schools greater than 5,000 square feet on the second floor and above, it's a CUP. For hookah bars, number 18, I heard an MCUP or P, so either a AP.
Well, actually, yeah, keep going, Beth, but go ahead, finish up, and then I have a recommendation on this, yeah.
For number 19 and 20, related to indoor and outdoor commercial recreational facilities, we would be adding in axe throwing and a kid zone.
All right, not
Not together.
How about dart throwing? Then?
Oh, and then we said we're gonna add archery. What else did you want to add?
Archery. Well, yeah.
Archery?
I said shooting range, but there are people that. Well, you know, I'm taking what our counselor said. People have freedom. Well, I don't know where the jokes start and stop anymore. With
Nope, apparently not.
You know.
And I think that was it. I heard no changes to office uses.
Right, before the council goes any further this, I think because we made a number of changes tonight, two things. One, Beth, I think instead of an AP, I think it should be an AUP on that. Just a
Administrative use
suggestion.
permit?
Right.
Okay.
Secondly, because of the number of changes, I would suggest we introduce this at the next meeting, quantify all this in writing, make sure we get it right. Because there's a lot of changes here, and rather than do it on the fly and have to correct it the second reading, I just soon get it right on the introduction of the ordinance when we do that. Yeah.
You had an
idea.
opinion on hookah bars too, didn't you?
Yes.
Where'd you fall?
Yeah, the hookah bar was mentioned as well as part of that process, but we'll go back. We have to, I want to make sure we get it right. We'll review the tape and then get back the recommendations to you guys next meeting.
Okay, speaking of hookah bars, do we have any here in Bellflower?
The last one
None.
was where Herta has his building. Remember that one?
There was a hookah bar on the boulevard a long time ago. That's
Actually, I
correct.
remember one south of the freeway too for a short time.
I don't think currently I can't
No,
think
there's
of
not
any.
now. Yeah.
Because it came before the planning commission many years ago.
Yes, well, and here's the complexity of it in my mind. We have a wonderful smoke lounge in Bose, which I'm sure has no need for any permits whatsoever. It's just retail, correct?
No, it has CUP.
Okay, so that's the bar right there. Now, in the meantime, we have allowed cannabis to be sold in Bellflower. Now, we've never allowed people to engage in using it on the premise, but we're stepping over to the hookah bar place because that's some sort of hallucinogenic, isn't it?
I haven't tried.
No.
it.
The
Well,
hookah bar's
I'm asking Sonny. No,
Yeah, no. Hookah bar's not an hallucinogenic.
Well,
It-
see,
it
I
is-
don't know these things.
It's another tobacco use.
Well, I know tobacco isn't, but
it's not a
well, when we
psychogenic
had
or
Schnaubleger here, he
hallucinogenic.
was talking about the electronic cigarettes and how that had effects on people. So it's a brave new world out there with things introduced in your body, and how does the city apply that?
Okay, so Mr. So your recommendation is to bring this back?
Yeah, I think that I want to go through, make sure we get
We
it all.
went too deep.
I'm sorry, you mentioned
okay,
one thing
it's
that I had not gotten through in that summary, so I think we need to play the tape and get them all right. Does that get that?
Okay, so we'll take no action today on this item.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that? Okay, good.
Now, so I guess my question to the city attorney, so I would continue the public hearing to the next meeting?
I believe you closed.
We
the
closed
public
it.
You
hearing.
closed, okay.
So-
so
We gotta
we'll
reopen
continue
it
the
later
item.
on.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Continue the
So we'll bring this back as an action item only, a
Yeah.
consideration item. All right.
Okay, very good.
Get our mayor back.
Get our mayor.
Have you ever seen Axe?
All right, let the record reflect that the mayor has rejoined the council meeting. Mayor, welcome back.
Still got an audience, so that's not too bad.
Well,
It was exciting.
We're going to do it all over again. We did so well.
Let me get my glasses on, see where we're at.
11C.
Let's see. Okay, Mr. Stewart, 11C.
This is consideration possible action to conduct a public hearing to consider issuing one cannabis business permit, CBP, for distribution use at 8832 Ramona Street, and consider adopting resolution number 22-31, a resolution approving cannabis business permit to operate a cannabis distribution facility at 8822 Ramona Street. Applicant is Bernice Cristerna, representing Dynasty Alliance Grow.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I have to excuse myself on this item because I have a property nearby this project.
Okay, let the record show that Councilmember Coops is leaving the room.
Mr. Mayor, I will recuse myself as well on this
Oh, we
item.
got a twofer, huh? And let the record reflect that Councilmember Sanchez is leaving the room. We're gonna be kind of lopsided here.
We're running on,
We're
we're running on
leaning.
3 cylinders now.
Yeah, we've done that before, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Travis.
Thank
You're
you,
the
Mr.
cannabis
Mayor.
man. Go ahead.
And thank you, Mr. Stewart. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Item 11C before you this evening is to conduct a public hearing to consider issuing one CBP for distribution use, and this is at 8832 Ramona Street, and consider adopting resolution number 22-31, which is a resolution approving a CBP to operate a cannabis distribution facility at 8832 Ramona Street. So just some brief background and an overview for you. On March 21st, 2022, Ms. Bernice Cristerna, on behalf of Dynasty Alliance Grow Inc., submitted a distribution CBP application to the city. Ms. Cristerna also paid the application review fee, And Dynasty Alliance Grow Inc. currently holds a cultivation CBP at 8832 Ramona Street and is seeking a distribution CBP to distribute its own cannabis product. The property, 8832 Ramona Street, is entitled with a cannabis-related CUP, and the applicant intends to utilize existing office space at the property for the distribution component. So should the City Council desire to issue the applicant a distribution CBP, the applicant would be required to pay the prorated annual CBP fees, which totals approximately $17,000. And the CBP would expire on December 31st, 2022, along with the other cannabis business permits. So based upon the information available in the application and supplemental information provided by the applicant during the application review process, the application appears complete. Therefore, the recommendation tonight is to open the public hearing and consider one distribution CBP, and after receiving testimonial and documentary evidence from the applicant, close the public hearing and determine whether to issue the CBP to the applicant by adopting resolution number 22-31, or alternatively discuss and take other action related to this item. So that completes the report. Staff and the applicant, Ms. Bernice Cristerna, are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, questions to staff first. I don't. Mr. Hamada, go ahead.
Just a quick one. Travis, one of our other CBP holders gave up one of their permits. Was that a distribution?
That was not. That was actually a manufacturing.
Manufacturing, all right. Okay, I was just curious. All right. Okay, thank you.
Well, let's go right to the public
I'll
hearing.
make a motion
Okay.
to open the public hearing.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor and a second. Call roll. Without objection, that'll be the order. All right, the applicant, you can come on up here and tell us what's going on and why we're here tonight.
Do we need to swear them?
Oh, we have to swear. We got to swear you in. That's right.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Thank you,
Bernice.
Mr. Mayor. If you'll raise your right hand, please.
Is there anybody else in the audience think they're going to talk cannabis tonight? Not seeing any. Go ahead.
Thank you. Do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give in the matter pending before the City Council shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, tell us why we're here tonight.
I applied for a distribution license and hopefully hoping to receive it tonight. One of the problems that I'm running as a cultivator, and as you know, cultivation has always been kind of like we get the cheap price and then the grocery markets kind of jack up the price, but the cultivators kind of get hit a little bit on the pricing. So what I'm seeing a lot is that due to not having the distribution license, the pricing has, I don't know if you're aware, but have plummeted pretty severely. So it's really hard for me as a cultivator to sell it to distributors because they negotiate the price really low. So as a distributor, I would have more control over my sales and who I would sell it to, and kind of go out there to dispensaries directly to the store instead of going to a middle person, get my prices drop tremendously, affect me in a lot of ways, and that way it gives me that control of not losing so much money. Right now, it's pretty bad, the pricing in the market.
So your gross sales would be coming up.
Yes,
Selling
a
the
couple of
same
$100, correct.
Selling the same product, it would come up.
Yes, and as you know, hopefully everyone would get an opportunity to visit my facility. It's a lot of hard work. We put a lot of sweat, a lot of hard work. You know, as I didn't really have the experience when I apply as much. I was cutting roses and bonsai trees, and I thought, you know, I could do this. It's a piece of cake, but it's not. You know, it's I'm still single after 3 years, and I'm probably going to remain single because this has taken over my life. But I mean, I'm happy and I enjoy it, but I do want to feel a little bit more that it's worth the hard work that I do. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Any questions to the applicant?
Yes, Mr.
Okay,
I need to read this because it's a very thick application. packet,
Yes,
so
please don't.
I wanna
Don't make us
I
do
wanna
that work
justice
again.
to what you did. So anyway, one clarification: who is the current landlord? Because I saw two.
BNY is my current company, which owns the property in 8832 Ramona, so it would be myself.
Okay, because there's also one for Premier Fleet Maintenance.
He's my tenant as well.
He's your tenant.
Correct.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right, very good.
So
then,
the building is split into two at this moment.
All right. This package is so
Big.
So detailed. So, well, so you started operations in 2021, right?
Yes.
So how did you sell your your harvest? So to
The
speak?
harvest has to go through a distributor. We're not allowed to go directly to the stores. So by having the distribution license, I'm able to hire sales reps that would go directly to the stores and kind of control a little bit our pricing versus the distributor has to make money and then it has to sell it to the store, and then the store makes up way more money than the cultivation and even the distributor. So by having that, I could also even move my own product and also go and get more product from different cultivators and make more revenue on that end as well.
Okay, so educate me on this. Is there any manufacturing process in the
No.
meantime? There's
No,
nothing.
sir. No. Manufacturing is a different license.
So how will the product go to a dispensary without going to manufacturing?
We could sell in bulk, and then we can package, but that's legal under the state as well. We could, white labeling is called. So it's just having a little bit of packages, and then you just break your pounds into ounces. And
Okay.
that's not manufacturing.
I'm trying to understand. So if you sell the produce to a dispensary, they need to have some kind of manufacturing permit to manufacture the product?
Manufacturing is when you break down your cannabis and make it something else. It's flower. We only move flower, which is what we grow.
No, I'm talking about the permitting process here because we have 3-4 permits, right? Cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, and dispensary. So I'm just kind of trying to break it down.
Manufacturing is when you start dealing with chemicals and you start breaking and you make wax or different items in the manufacturing. And that's why a lot of people are closing and giving up the manufacturing. It's really expensive and it's really not worth it. And you deal with different types of, dangerous chemicals that you have to do. We're not manufacturing anything in our
Okay, so
facility.
you're not manufacturing any other
No,
product?
sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Raymond?
Yes, quickly. Good evening.
Good evening. Sir.
One of my issues with the CBPs is security. So,
Correct.
has your facility been a safe facility? Have you had any issues?
No, we have not had any issues. We do have security. Also, all of our doors are metal, and all the facility throughout, even to enter the rooms, are metal doors. Also, we're in the process of purchasing a drone, which it has sensoring, and it clears about 4 acres. And as soon as that sensor is trespassed, the drone would come out of like a little house, and it would immediately tell the people that have the communication with that drone that somebody has trespassed into the property. So we're adding different security items to it. And plus, because of the other business that I lease to, it's really hidden. You can't really tell as well. It's pretty protective.
You've probably conducted some kind of feasibility study on will distribution really make out, and you've probably started talking it up, I assume. And are you looking at like in city? Not only in city, but how far reaching would you?
We're going to try
distribute?
to sell all the way to Palm Springs. Those areas right now a lot of people don't want to travel that way, so they're having a lot of issues on getting products, and there's a lot of dispensaries, as well as Santa Barbara up north, and we're going all the way to San Diego as well. So we're going to start trying to get customers because, it's not just moving our product. We want to make sure that there's distributors that are totally like 30 31 million a year. So that's the potential that distribution has. If you work all day and all night. Yes,
Wow.
sir.
All right. No, again, that's enlightening. So obviously you've looked at like a 1 year, maybe a 5 year, maybe 10, if you were to get this. And so you're looking at this exponentially? Are you really
I really want to go vertical in the property and have maybe in the future all the licenses, because it benefits everything. So yes, little by little, I'm trying to accumulate all the licenses. But I want to make one business work and then get another license and make that work and then go to the next one. And that way everything is, the foundation of it is strong enough.
Very good. All right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Question?
Of course.
Ms. Cristerna, what's your estimated sales volume for distribution?
Well, right now, through the state, we applied for the first, since it's almost half the year, we just got the license or applied for the license to 2 to 5 million right now at this moment. But we could go up just depending on how we're going to see this year. But I didn't want to go higher due to the fact that it's half the year already.
Ah, okay. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And if I recall, is the distribution license is a percentage of what you just distribute is taxable? 1%, isn't it?
I think it's 1%.
1%, we cut that back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So the more money you make, the more money the city makes, right?
The more happy you guys are.
That's usually Sonny's. Sonny coined that idea.
He's a number. He's a number.
I gave him his chance.
I asked the question.
I remember, and I've only been to 3 meetings. I'm going to be here more often.
All right. I'm good with the questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we'll see if anybody's behind you wants to talk, and you'll have a chance to rebuttal it if that's the case.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Anybody else wishing to come to the podium?
I'll make a motion. Oh, there's one. There's one more.
Do we need to provide the oath?
Did you get sworn in?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And then city clerk's going to swear you in.
Okay.
Okay, if you'll raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in the matter pending before the city council shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Do I have to sign in?
Yeah, sign in and state your name and.
Carlos Lozano, Bellflower resident. I was just wondering the hours of this business. Is it 24/7 or I'm not sure what involves in that.
Well, there's no foot traffic there.
Okay.
It's a cultivation facility, so the plants are growing 24/7.
So there's no employees there 24/7?
That I would think there is, because I would think there's security, but yeah.
That's all I was wondering about, was just about, if it was a 24/7.
Well, we'll get the applicant back up here, and he can get that question answered.
All right, thank you.
That was it? Okay. Anybody else? Okay, come on up. We'll hear from the applicant. You can answer that last and final question.
No, it would not be a 24-hour. It would actually be phone calls and then deliveries, and they would just be our employees there. But no foot traffic is allowed because we do not have a store.
I think the gentleman's question was if there's any employees there 24/7. I think that's
No, just the security, and the plants
Security,
do
just
sleep.
security.
So they're not awake 24
the
hours either.
the plants sleep? They do?
Yes, they do.
I didn't know that. I thought they had grow lights on it all the time.
Yes, when they flower, it's at 12:12. So you go in the rooms and they're sleeping. Correct. Anything
I mean,
else?
a plant gets 12 hours of sleep a day?
Yes, when they start flowering, you have to
Nice.
switch it to 12:12.
I guess I should have been a plant. Thank you, Bernice.
You're welcome.
You bet. All right.
Okay, I'll move to close the public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Okay. Without objection, that'll be the order. I'll entertain a motion from somebody.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, for the City Council of Bellflower to adopt Resolution 22-31.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor and a second. Call roll, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Santinas?
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada?
Aye.
Mayor Dutton?
Aye. Okay. Somebody want to go get the rest of the council? All right. Mr. Stewart, 13A. That's that special one. It's in the, yeah, there we go.
Added to
It's
the
on-
last
it's
one.
on
I'm gonna
white
let the
paper,
city
not
attorney
yellow.
introduce this one that came up the 11th hour on Friday
Yeah.
after the agenda was posted.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I think the urgency, the reasons for it are set forth in the staff report. We're asking for a legislative subpoena authority to investigate a code enforcement matter. But for practical purposes, the resolution, if adopted by the city council, would apply to any other provision of the municipal code if there was an investigation that was needed. It's simply a more efficient means of finding information than having to traipse down to the courthouse to obtain it. The due process proceedings are substantially the same. Legislative subpoenas must be issued in compliance with the Code of Civil Procedure. They are signed by the mayor and countersigned by the city clerk. So anything that would be issued by the city would have that type of check and balance involved with it. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think the bulk of it is in the staff report.
So,
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
yeah, that's, so,
So I'll make a motion to add this into the agenda.
Second.
okay, before that, okay, I have a question. So we're making a motion, and to add it to the agenda, it has to be a 2/3 vote.
Correct.
And then after that, we talk about the item, and then we can vote on that as another
Correct.
vote. That's a regular vote.
So the first vote is simply to add it to the
Add it to
agenda.
the agenda. Okay, that's what I
a
needed, the
2/3
two
vote,
votes. Okay.
and that's out of necessity. As mentioned in the staff report, this came up Friday afternoon. City Hall was closed. There was no way to amend the agenda that was already posted on Thursday.
Right, for the audience in TV land, this is an item that snuck in after our regular agenda was posted.
No, it didn't sneak in.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's a bad choice of words.
It was an emergency. It came to our attention after the agenda was posted. City Hall was closed on Friday.
But anyway, so this item, yeah, we have to post an agenda for every meeting 72 hours prior to the meeting. And we couldn't get this one posted because it came in and it's we'll talk about it. And for us to get it on the agenda, we have to do this special thing with a 2/3 vote to get it on the agenda. That's what's going on. Anyway, we motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santinez, and a second was Hamada, right? Call roll.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Santinez.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada.
Aye.
Councilmember Coops.
Aye.
Mayor Dutton.
Aye. Well, that'll make 2/3. Okay, so Travis, you doing the staff report? Or the city attorney's probably doing it, okay. Well, you look comfortable over there.
Yeah, go ahead, Travis.
Yeah. Yeah, I got, my CG says Mr. Stewart with a question mark.
That would be a question.
That was a guess.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the one correction to the staff report is I make mention of the city of Monterey Park. Obviously, this is not the city of Monterey Park. This is the city of Bellflower. That's what happens when you get something quickly and try to turn it around quickly. So this arose at noon on Friday, as mentioned, and by 1:30, this was presented to the city clerk for distribution this morning.
So we're here with so as far as the staff report, we want to get a synopsis of the staff report?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as mentioned in the executive summary, really this was prompted by a substandard housing condition and code enforcement situation at 17420 Downey Avenue in Bellflower. Specifically, our office gave deadlines to the property owner to provide us information. We continued to extend it until noon on Friday. That deadline came and went, and the property has already been red tagged, And the concern is that the tenants that are in that property have not been relocated by the owner, but instead have been displaced by the owner. It's unclear about where those tenants are located. We did get a Public Records Act request, I believe this morning, from a tenant, probably one of the displaced tenants. We're hoping to get a mold report that was supposed to have been provided to our office by a qualified and licensed inspection company. The property owner has refused to turn it over, and in fact, today, just about an hour before this meeting occurred, the property owner provided us with various documents, all of which were not the specific inspection report that we requested and demanded. So rather than go to court and get a warrant, the city may issue a legislative subpoena to obtain that information from that third-party contractor, and we hope that will provide us with additional information that will help the building division with regard to issuing orders for the notice of violation and the next steps in terms of rehabilitating the building, and will also help the residents in the event that they need to have relocation assistance.
Okay, I know we've all read the staff report. I just wanted to make sure everybody, what's this about? Thank you. Any questions? Did we derive any questions after all that?
Just
For
a
the city
quick
attorney?
question, Mr. Mayor. So I'm hoping that the contractor will comply.
I believe that the contractor will comply. We do know from informal conversations with one of the contractor's representatives that the fix is fairly substantial, which is probably why the property owner doesn't want to turn over the inspection report.
So there's no reason to believe that the contractor will not comply with the subpoena.
There's no reason to believe that they will not.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else? Okay. What's your pleasure, guys?
Mr. Mayor, just one quick question.
Go ahead.
I believe I heard it correctly, and I believe I'm reading it on the report, but I just wanted for clarity. There's currently, the families here have been displaced at this point in time for a safety hazard, right?
There are two specific units within this building that have been, yes, the tenants have been removed from those particular units, but it's unclear about how extensive the problem is. So those units have been red tagged, which means under our building provisions that no one can occupy those spaces.
And there are still other tenants
Correct.
within the perimeter. Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion for 13A to adopt resolution number 22-33, establishing procedures for issuing legislative subpoenas in accordance with California law, and also direct staff to issue a legislative subpoena for mold inspection records pertaining to the address 17420 Downey Avenue
Second.
in Bellflower.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by myself and a second by Councilmember Sanchez. Call roll, please.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Santinas.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada.
Aye.
Councilmember Coops.
Aye.
Mayor Dutton.
Aye. Okay, item 14, consent calendar. Any recusals or conflicts?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Ray.
I have a conflict with 14E, and could I just pull 14D for a comment?
14B?
14D.
D.
D
Okay.
as in David.
14. D, and then you recused on what number?
14E.
14E.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item 14E, I, and L just for comments.
E, I, and L?
Yeah, E, I, and L.
Got it.
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Coops.
I have a conflict with 14I because the property located within 1,000 feet of that project, and also 14L, which has to do with the butterfly park, and my residence is within 500 feet of that project. So I'll be staying out of those, I and L.
L, got it. You good, Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, got it.
Yes. Was item L pulled?
Item L is pulled by
Okay,
Sunny.
perfect, thank you.
And Dan.
No, Dan's out. so-
Dan's recused.
Oh, I mean, Dan's recused on that one. Geez. We got a lot tonight, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's 14D. Let's have someone up here. That's Hamada's wanted to pull that for discussion, right?
Just a comment.
Huh?
Just a comment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, give us your comment.
Just a
then.
comment.
Okay.
All right. Okay, no fanfare, ain't nothing. Again, this matter was brought back for us for action from our last meeting. It's in regards to the salary adjustment for council. At the last meeting, I did not support it, so just for the record, I will continue with that stance. That'll be it.
Okay, Sonny. Did you wanted to pull
Yes,
Go ahead.
just very
Name them
quick.
in order you want. How's that?
Oh, sure. Okay, very quick
Lynn's
comment.
hovering.
I guess Mr. Hamada needs to step out.
He needs
I do?
a big
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you guys are gonna discuss?
Just don't go too far.
No, I won't.
It's very quick.
I can hear through the.
Well, I pulled item E because Kingdom Coast Bellflower has done a good job in Bellflower and continue to do a good job. So I just want to make a request for Kingdom Coast Bellflower to make a report to us because I want the public to know what they've been doing. I don't want this to be a secret to our city. So I just want to make sure that they give us a full report and so we can share the information with our residents. That's all.
Okay.
Okay.
What about
And then
INL?
for the INL, I have no question about this. I just want to let the viewing public know that we are embarking. Oh, wait, Mr. Coop. Oh, Mr.
Wait, Let's
Hamada.
get, let's get Hamada back in.
And then Coop has to step out.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'd like to comment on
Yeah,
14E.
And you're in a comment on E. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Oh, E. Okay.
Wait
a minute.
I gotta get out of here?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're
Hey,
out
no,
and
Jen,
Hamada's in, and then you
Are
can
you
do E.
making a comment on E?
Just comment on E.
Oh, okay. Hold on, Hamada.
Yeah, Hamada has to wait. I just wanted
No,
to
not yet. You're still up good.
just
You're still good.
I just want to highlight the increase in the limit of services for funding that they're going to be able to provide. It's going to go from 1,000 to 2,500. That's for housing rapid rehousing. That's it. I just want to highlight that. So,
Okay.
short and
Okay.
simple.
Go ahead and swap yourself with Hamada.
The residents. to
So
know.
we're playing tag here.
Sorry.
I got it all written down and I can't keep it straight. So Ray's done. He's done. And so
Well, I just want to share with our residents that we are embarking on two major projects in the city. One is the Butterfly Garden that's going to be located at the east end of Alondra, just before the bridge going to Cerritos. It's been in the works for quite some time, and I'm really excited that it's going to happen finally. As you know, I love gardening, and when this was introduced for the first time, I was ecstatic that we're going to have our own butterfly garden in the city of Bellflower. And the second project that we're embarking on is the Youth and Senior Center, which will be constructed at Sims Park. Again, this is another exciting project I look forward to, and this will serve our residents a lot, even more than that's being served now. So keep an eye on these two projects. It's coming up very soon, and as you will see in the agenda tonight, we are approving the contract to design these two projects. So it's coming very shortly. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
okay. And so yeah, you did your two first. So let's get Mr. Coops back in.
Oh.
Because he was
I was only
conflicted.
going to
INL.
comment on your same thing. You're good.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we're clear. Okay, somebody want to entertain a motion for the balance of the calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar, Mr.
Second.
Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Hamada, did you want to, what do you want to do, how your vote is going to be on
Vote no.
14D?
D.
D.
Uh,
Okay. Okay, that's why I want to get it in the record for you, because I feel you're pretty adamant about that. Can I just say the balance of without objection, that'll be the order if, with Ray noting that he's a no on D. Yeah. Okay.
Make a separate motion for
Okay.
E and then approve the rest
Yeah.
of the agenda.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. D.
D.
Second.
D, yeah.
We never get this messed
I
up,
know.
do we?
D, I
Without objection, that'll be the order with the motion by Sonny and
There
second
you
by
go.
Victor.
All right.
Now,
Got
You
it.
got
Thank
it.
now I'll make a motion to approve for the City Council of Bellflower to approve item 14D.
D.
There you go.
Call roll. Lee on this one.
Do we have a second for 14D?
Second.
Oh, okay, yeah, Victor.
Thank you. Councilmember Sanchez?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Santinas?
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada?
No.
Councilmember Coops?
Aye.
Mayor Dutton?
Aye. Okay. We got through that, guys. All right. Papers all over the place. Council reports. Mr. Sanchez, you're first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just really quickly on tonight's consent calendar, I just want to highlight the item that we just approved for a voting, not a voting, sorry, polling of a survey of the constituents. So for those of you watching out in TV, unlike the mayor likes to say, just know that we are surveying and just want to hear your thoughts and hear what you'd like to see us focus on. So just want to highlight that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, again, I just want to congratulate the officers of the Rotary Club of Bellflower. We went to their installation of officers, and right after that, I went to the Street Fest. I want to thank staff for the wonderful Street Fest. It was well attended, and I really like the way you pushed back the stage. I think it created more room. At the same time, it became much closer to the parking structure. So it draws some people to park at the structure. So good job. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Hamada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me just add, again, last week, wanted to congratulate Steelcraft for celebrating their 3rd anniversary. So I was able to join in there and do a little taste of Steelcraft. So, just last week also, Mr. Sanchez and I sit on the Homeless Shelter Subcommittee, and so far business is good, so to speak. I think there's been no major issues recently, and I believe there's mid 40s from a standpoint of occupants in there, so it's doing its job. So that I'll leave it. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet. Councilmember Coops.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's been some rumblings around the city that the Bellflower Women's Club property located at 9402 Oak Street was a property that sits at the edge of Sims Park. And as you heard earlier, the city intends to design and construct a new youth and senior center on the city property, which is Sims Park, adjacent to the Women's Club. The City Council Committee reached out to the Women's Club to ask whether or not they had any idea if they'd ever like to sell their building. And we received a letter from their president last week, says, no, we're not interested in selling. We want to keep our property just as is. And so I'm here to convey to the public that we've engaged them. We didn't want to put up a project on that corner and not ask if they didn't want to sell their property to include that in ours, and they elected to say, no, we want to keep our property. We want to continue to be a service of Bellflower on that corner and in that location, and we are honoring that. There is no thought of us ever taking that property eminent domain. Is not in our agenda. They can operate there for another 100 years just like they have been. They're an asset to our community. We simply wanted to know whether or not they would like to partner with the project that we had presented, and they have elected not to. So just to put the word out, the Women's Club of Bellflower will sustain themselves in the property that they love so much, and the city will build their project around their perimeter. That's all there is, Mr. Mayor.
Got it. Thank you. All right. With a heavy heart, I'm going to adjourn in memory of Frank G. Trepeppi. Frank Trepeppi was born in Dearborn, Michigan, 1947, and passed away on June 19, 2022, at the age of 74. Frank grew up in Norwalk and served heroically in the Vietnam War. After being drafted into the U.S. Army in '69, he was deployed in Vietnam and Cambodia as a field artillery operation and intelligence. In 1971, while stationed at a gun tower, Frank was attacked, fell 45 feet, and suffered severe wounds. He survived his injuries and was awarded the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Campaign Medal, and the Good Service Medal. He began his public service career after serving in the Army as an administrative aide in Hawaiian Gardens. In 1972, he went to work for the city of Rosemead as an assistant city manager and was appointed to city manager in 1974. He served as city manager for the city of Rosemead for 28 years. After retiring, Frank moved to the private sector and became president and CEO of Wildan Financial, and later Wildan's senior vice president of business and development. He also briefly returned to the public service in 2008 as interim city manager for the city of La Puente. Earlier this year, the California City Management Foundation honored Frank at its annual member appreciation dinner. The honor focused on Frank's military service, his distinguished career in local government, as he was widely respected for his expertise and professional contributions. Frank leaves behind a loving family, including his wife Rhonda, daughter Nicole, and son-in-law Ryder, granddaughter Reagan, sister Valentina, and brother-in-law Ron, as well as countless friends, colleagues who benefited greatly from knowing him. Our deepest sympathy and heartfelt condolences go out to the whole entire Trepeppi family. And with that, we're going to adjourn in the memory of Frank G. Trepeppi to the next regular meeting of the Bellflower City Council at 5:30 p.m. on Monday, July 11th, 2022.